Hello and welcome to round 10 of the F1 2018 Equal Cars Career Mode, and it takes us to Suzuka here for round 10. So coming into this, the top three drivers of the decades, Hamilton, Vettel and Alonso, are currently heading the championship in that order. Leclerc is still there, but I think it is technically between the top three now as we head on to the last three races. Of course, after this we only have, really, I think, I don't know. I mean, I know Brazil. I think it's Mexico then Brazil to finish up. So as I'm going to retire from the session, let's see who's going to be leading into turn one of Japan. Quite a technical track, and as you can see, it's actually Perez who's in the lead ahead of Charles Leclerc. So Leclerc, of course, fourth place. He needs to put in some work if he wants to still be up there for the championship. And you can see right now he's catapulting between basically that second and fourth. But right now Alonso's actually gained a few positions through this twisty section and finds himself in the lead. You can see Hamilton actually struggling down in P9, and Shady Onyx unfortunately at the back again. After getting really bad luck in Italy. Verstappen also near the back, so that's really surprising. Shady Onyx is actually going to gain 2 places there on Van Dorn and Magnussen, who once again is struggling. So, yeah, a few people who normally near the front struggling. Kimi Räikkönen loses about 10-15 positions and all of a sudden finds himself in 17th place. At the front is still Ricciardo and Alonso. These guys have been quite dominant in qualifying, to be honest. I think they probably got the most front row starts out of anyone actually this season, but Ricciardo just hasn't been able to convert them like Alonso has. As you can see, Perez still in third, Leclerc in fourth, Vettel in fifth, Hamilton is actually in seventh. So the two championship protagonists are actually going to start outside the top four, but they're still going to be near the front. Of course, this is that consistency which are keeping them near the top. And of course, Bottas, on pace, he actually hasn't been anywhere near the front really this season, but he's been saved by lots of pit lanes. As you can see, Shady Onyx ping-ponging between 11th and 17th, so it's a really close pack. As you can see, as everyone goes through, unfortunately it's only going to be 18th for Shady Onyx, as I think Alonso gets another pole. Grosjean will get 10th place there as well, but yeah, Bottas really has been lucky with the pit lane. Yeah, he just hasn't had any pace, so he actually isn't near the front anymore, even after so much luck. And yeah, I think Raikkonen as well is sort of struggling. But you can see a lot, Ricciardo actually in the end, pipping Alonso on the line. So actually overtaking him right at the depths. I think that's the Australian second pole of the season. I think to Alonso's 2 or 3. So these two have been really dominant in qualifying. And once again, 2 tenths ahead of Sergio Perez. That's huge. Charles Leclerc a frame behind him. As Vettel is a further 2 frames behind Charles Leclerc. But yeah, the top 5 within almost 2 tenths of each other, and there's an extra 2.5 tenths before we actually reach Carlos Sainz, who in the end was actually only 2 frames ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who in turn was only about 3 or 4 frames ahead of Pierre Gasly. And actually the 3 Frenchmen are all finishing inside the top 10, albeit the back of the top 10. As we go down to the bottom, you can see Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, and Verstappen, and even Bottas outside the top 10. And Verstappen has a lot of work to do right now from 17th on the grid. And once again, heading up the field, Magnussen and Van Dorn are a whole 6 tenths behind this pack. As you can see, Shady Onyx way in the pack right now, because of course the top 16 actually all separated by 8 tenths.
I made a mistake into turn 1. I didn't brake enough, and I went too wide.
Well, it just shows that, I mean, one little mistake can lose you tons. As Raikkonen made a little mistake and fell 15 positions, so...
I might back out, actually, and do what I did last time.
So, strategy-wise, it looks like a clear race going into this. So, no Rever sort of changes like we saw in in that great race, which was Spa. As we now wait for the 5 lights to go out, and now we're going to retire from the session.
Okay, I've got a really good start.
Oof, be careful of the yellow flags. As we go into turn 1, we're going to see what's happening. And it's actually Ricciardo in the lead from Fernando Alonso still. As Perez in P3, Leclerc in P4. As Shady Onyx now finds himself up into P14. Even though he's slipping down the order now, so I don't know what's happened there.
I had front wing damage, and I had 3 illegal overtakes for some reason.
Probably because of yellow flags. So
I don't know why the yellow flags are so far.
So as you can see now into Sector 2, you can see Perez actually still in that podium spot. The top 13 remaining the same, but it's Shady Onyx who's the big loser on lap 1, down to P19. After I think must have been a little going on the grass, because now he finds himself 7 seconds behind Van Dorn already. But yeah, meanwhile at the front it's still quite close. And so you can see actually Ricciardo actually beginning to pull away from Alonso, who in turn is beginning to pull away from Perez. I mean, it's only slight gaps, but they are currently the biggest gaps of the field. As you can see, you've got gaps as low as 0.1 seconds as we have a look at Van Dorn and Raikkonen, which is the closest gap of the field. But you can see as actually Alonso closes on Ricciardo again, So the gap actually closing because of slipstream, of course. But yeah, Alonso is beginning to pull a gap on Perez. I mean, it's probably the biggest gap of the race so far. It's still only about 7/10, but it's increasing quite quickly. As you can see, he's actually right on the back of Ricciardo because of slipstream. And as a result, Perez might be vulnerable to Leclerc. Of course, it needs a good result to get ahead of Vettel and Hamilton. But Alonso right now actually might be in the driving seat. If he can get Ricciardo, of course, Ricciardo in 5th in the drivers. So if he wants to win the championship, he needs to win this race. So if Alonso wins, he's probably going to be definitely in the driving seat. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the lead. Alonso has been doing really well recently, so Ricciardo will have his work cut out if he wants to fend off a double world champion. Meanwhile, you see Perez has actually closed back in to Alonso, I think as a result of Alonso getting slightly bogged down behind Ricciardo. So yeah, I mean, there's still no real major gaps forming. As you can see, the only real overtakes actually Ericsson overtaking Kimi Räikkönen, and Van Dorn up 3 positions off the start. Surprisingly, Verstappen actually hasn't gained anything, considering he's so good in real life. So I think the game is just almost implying that he gains those positions from his machinery, which is probably quite controversial there. As you can see, Alonso actually, I don't know, I think he looks like he's dropped off a bit, because again the gap's opened up to 6/10, and so is the gap between him and Perez. And again, as all the gaps actually begin to open up, I can't actually see a gap within 3/10 now, but everyone is still in that train, apart from, of course, Sergio Onyx, after he had a sort of poor sector 1. He's already 7 seconds behind, unfortunately. Meanwhile, you can see at the front, again, Alonso going to have the slipstream of Ricciardo. I don't think he's going to go for a move into 1 yard. You can see actually slightly braking there, and as a result, he will still remain in that 10th and a half. He's not going to go for a move, though, but he is right behind Ricciardo right now. And, of course, he's the only one who's not going to have been nullified by DRS. So it should be interesting to see what's going on there. As you can see, another close gap is between Hülkenberg and Brandon Hartley, but that has actually opened up now. So you go to the front. I think Alonso looks like he's about to make a move on Fernando Ricciardo's. Perez sets the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, Alonso is going to try to go around the outside of Ricciardo, and Ricciardo's edged him off the track, and Alonso has actually abandoned it, and oh my god, he's been smashed out of the race, and oh, that's not what he needed. Oh my goodness me. Oh, and Sergio Onyx is saved as the safety car comes out as soon as he comes into the pit lane. But my goodness me, Alonso basically tried to go around the outside of Ricciardo. Ricciardo forced him wide, and as he rejoined the track, he rejoined very aggressively. I don't know who he collided with, but it looked like somebody like Gasly or I don't think it was Hamilton. I think it could have been Sainz or Gasly. But oh my goodness, I mean, Alonso, of course, trying to not lose as many positions as he could, but I mean, he's completely out wide. He tried to rejoin the track, and he joined it so aggressively that he got completely clattered, and he's lost a wheel. And actually, once again, I think it was Raikkonen and Gasly in Italy who tangled up with each other. But once again, the AI crashing with each other, something they probably wouldn't do in a few games ago. As you see, the safety car now is going to nullify anything. And of course, Sergio Onyx needs to be careful though, because of course in Austria, where he got his best result, there was a lucky safety car for him, but he wasn't actually able to catch up to the pack. So it's 34-7.
I go as fast as I can, but it's still a delta. So
yeah, no way, the delta will come away at the end of this lap. But yeah, for now, I mean, everything's nullified. You see, everyone's up 1 position. So it's showing everything's been maintained. But Alonso, goodness me, that has put a serious dent in the championship chances. And just when it looked like he was coming back after the atrocious start to the season, he's now in the top 3, and he was actually hunting that on Hamilton and Vettel. Oh no, that is tremendously bad luck by Alonso, but probably by his own doing as well, as everyone's going to come into the pits now on lap 3, and this is going to be huge, because now people might get held. There's going to be double stacks here, there and everywhere, and of course, although the top 3 teams have spread out drivers, you can see Ricciardo's getting held, and Verstappen's going to have to be held up behind him. So this is interesting to see what actually happens, as actually Ricciardo finally gets out the pits. Verstappen's going to be right at the back, as we actually see who's going to come out the pits. And right now it actually looks like it's that Leclerc at the lead. Where's he come from? Charles Leclerc in the lead of the race, up 3 positions. Hamilton up into P2. Vettel up into P3, and Ricciardo down to P4. So my goodness, and Leclerc finds himself 5.5 seconds ahead of Hamilton. So
come on, Rich Mix, I'm overtaking so many people.
Once again, it seems like as you can see, Sergio Onyx actually will overtake a few people as a result of his undercut. But yeah, once again, it looks like if you're at the end of the pit lane, when there's a really crowded pit lane, it actually works for you, because you're not actually going to get held up by people continuously coming in. And as a result, Charles Leclerc has gained hugely, even though so has Hamilton, to be honest. And he started at the front of the pit lane, and Vettel's also gained a lot. It's Ricciardo who's the big loser in all of this. And I can't actually see Verstappen. Verstappen's actually in 11th, so Verstappen's gained, even with the double stack. Van Dorn's gained, and so is Raikkonen. So the big loser right now is Brendan Hartley. Esteban Ocon also out of the points now, and Ricciardo and Perez have also lost out big time, as the safety car surely will be coming in on the next few laps, as the pack converges up. But Charles Leclerc, all of a sudden, looks like he's catapulted himself back into title contention, because if he can keep ahead of Hamilton and Vettel, of course, who are currently battling it out, it could be definitely a 3-horse race going into the last 2 rounds, because unless Ricciardo can get back past these guys, he might be out of the fight too. Alonso's definitely out now, unfortunately, even though it looked like he was definitely, if not one of the main contenders. But now Leclerc has probably assumed that title of being the best challenger to Hamilton and Vettel, if you like. So, of course, Leclerc led in the early part of the season, but then he had a couple of dry races. So this could be his chance. Of course, after a brilliant strategy call in Spa, unfortunately, he did lose the lead on the final lap. But his strategy call catapulting him up into the podium spots. He might be back into this. And now, after being saved by the safety car, he definitely looks like he will be back into this, as we have another lap behind the safety car. So, yeah, I don't think there should be any more pit stops. By the looks of things, everyone is on the softs, as I can confirm there. Everyone is on the softs, but Shady Onyx, the only guy who pitted a lap earlier, and as a result, he has gained a few positions. If you have a look at the position change, he's up 1 position, so arguably that is because of Alonso, but considering he was well behind everyone, this could be his chance, as hopefully he'll be able to come through the field. But yeah, anyway, I can't really see, as they all get to within 4 tenths of each other, everything will be utilised for the next lap or so. But yeah, as well, you can see Gasly and Grosjean also doing quite well, up 1 and 2 positions respectively, as Carlos Sainz actually the only person to actually maintain position in all of this. So yeah, some good stuff there from the Spaniard. He's been quite consistent this season, actually outperforming Hulkenberg this week, as Max Verstappen and Raikkonen and Bottas, for that matter, all outside the top 10. So actually, I bite my tongue. I think the top 3 teams actually have, apart from Ricciardo, benefited hugely by the safety car. As you can see, Ricciardo, the only guy actually losing out of the tops, out of the big 3 teams, with Hamilton, Vettel gaining quite big actually, and Hamilton actually jumping Vettel. So just when it looked like Vettel had a chance, Hamilton has jumped him in the pit lane. As you can see, Bottas, Raikkonen, and Max Verstappen again will be at the edge of the points, and surely they'll be able to come back maybe into the top 5. I wouldn't count them out. And so Verstappen hasn't actually been making many overtakes on track this race, as surely the safety car has to come in this lap. As you go down to the final straight, you can see it's actually flashing, so it will be in this lap, as we just wait for everyone to get going again. As
I don't think it will be in.
Really?
Because they haven't said it yet. Okay,
yes, it is in. The safety car was the symbol was flashing. So here we are now, as we about to actually restart again. Nobody really close to each other, so of course the AO are keeping a distance, unlike real life. And I don't know if this will mean there's going to be any
limiter on the speed you can go. Yeah,
I know. But it'll be interesting to see if they can actually get ahead, as Leclerc's going to pull away, and he's already got a huge lead on Hamilton as he pulled away. It's only 6 tenths or 7 tenths, but that's actually quite big. So Leclerc actually doing it quite well, and as a result, Hamilton might actually find himself under attack from Vettel more than he's actually attacking Leclerc. But he's going to be still in the slipstream with Leclerc, so everything's neutralised. But Perez is already quite close to Ricciardo, who's running wide. I don't think there's any overtakes, and Magnussen actually looks close to Shady Onyx, and I don't know what's happened there, because Shady Onyx is now off into the wall. So I think Magnussen must have shoved himself up his inside or something, as it just when it looked like Shady Onyx's race was getting better, it's got worse again. So this season has been a comedy of errors, really. But yeah, as we look back onto the front, the top 5 remain as they were, as the safety. Well, I think everyone's remains apart from Shady Onyx, really, as they were, as the gaps all quite close. So I've got to admit, Leclerc's doing quite a good job right now to keep Hamilton out of 5 tenths really. So Hamilton might have a chance, might struggle to overtake him on the straights, as Leclerc now pulls the gap out to 8 tenths. So he could be out of DRS, could Hamilton, before DRS even gets re-enabled. As Shady Onyx vows to take out Magnussen, but I don't think that's going to be make a massive impact on the championship, because Magnussen hasn't been doing well this season.
I don't care. He's not coming.
What did he do?
But last.
He
went up my inside.
Oh, it's Ricciardo DNS! And oh my goodness!
Why?
Oh my goodness! The 2 main challengers, so Hamilton, Vettel, and Leclerc, are now out of the race. They started 1-2. They're going to finish P18 and P19. And oh my goodness, the two leaders are now at the back. Oh my goodness, poor Ricciardo and poor Alonso. They had such good qualifyings, but once again, Ricciardo, like in real life, just can't get any luck with his engine. And once again, now we can actually see Max Verstappen into the points as we see this train all behind Sainz now. He finds himself 2 seconds behind Perez, who's in turn 2 seconds behind the lead three, who are actually separated by less than a second right now. So these three look like your three for the championship. They right now are first, fourth, second, and fourth in the championship. But as it stands, they should pretty much be equal on points if they finish in this order with just 2 rounds to go. So yeah, these are your challengers now, as Ricciardo and Alonso are now out the race. So this has pretty much confirmed it. And also Bottas.
Home, I think.
Who? Ricciardo? He's out the race.
On track.
Ricciardo's out the race. He's DNF'd. You can see now Valtteri Bottas P8 behind Grosjean, Gasly and Carlos Sainz, who are now actually into the top 5 as a result of the double DNF there from the 2 leaders. As you can see, Raikkonen as well, quite close to Bottas. So yeah, it should be interesting if these drivers should be able to get past the guys up ahead. But yeah, for now they have to remain at the tail end of the points. Meanwhile, you can see Esteban Ocon. He actually lost out quite a lot under the safety car, under the pit lane. You can see he lost 3 positions there compared to Van Dorn, who's up 8 positions. So yeah, Van Dorn actually could be sniffing points if he actually can keep this up. As you can see, Sainz still struggling to shake Gasly as DRS is now enabled, and yeah, as a result, he should come under pressure now as we go down this long straight. He's well out of DRS of Perez, so he's going to have no protection here as there's no move up ahead as they remain within fight. Well, Hamilton remains equidistant between him and Vettel, but yeah, Gasly actually not making a move in the end, as you can see Magnussen actually up 4 positions as well. So I think the only real losers have been Sergio Perez and Ocon right now, and of course Brendan Hartley. But as a result of a double DNF, everyone's sort of been elevated 2 positions. But yeah, no real movement. Of course, Japan not the most exciting race in terms of overtakes. So we're not expecting a huge amount. Yeah, probably on the long, the start-finish straight, there should be quite a few. As we see, there's still a train going up to P5. So I think this is the main battle right now. Of course, you've got the battle for the lead, but Hamilton actually dropping outside 9/10, and he seems to be getting a bad run out of the hairpin. And Charles Leclerc is just absolutely capitalizing on that every time. So I don't know if it's dirty air, but Leclerc now is actually going to drop Hamilton nearly outside of DRS. But Hamilton will have the DRS by the looks of things. When it actually, no, this isn't DRS straight, sorry. So when he actually goes to the next straight, but you see he's actually out of a second window, and Leclerc's actually pulling on him on the straight, and Vettel is now right behind him. So Vettel, of course, behind Hamilton in the points by a few points. So if he can get ahead of Hamilton, these 3 will be virtually tied as they finish the race on points. So really exciting stuff as we head into the final few rounds. I think Leclerc still will be a few points behind these guys, but Hamilton and Vettel will be literally neck and neck going to the final 2 rounds, as Vettel's going to go around the outside of Hamilton, and unlike Alonso, I think it was Alonso, he actually pulls the move cleanly in the end, and that's it, Vettel up into P2 after starting P5, and Hamilton, although he gained probably the most out of the front runners in the pit lane, he's actually beginning to drop back now from the leaders. As you can see, Leclerc now 2.5 ahead of Vettel, so if he's well at home and drive, he can keep this pace up. Leclerc might be on for another win. I think he got a win in Baku, and he might have got one more win, but I can't exactly remember, as we see now the battle for P5 sort of hotting up between, everyone's still sort of separated by less than a second between 5th and 10th, and even Van Dorn is actually towards the back of it, and Van Dorn's got his own little train. So to be honest, this train stretches back right to the back, and as Shadionix fast approaches, yeah, it could actually.
Just in the DRS train, so they always pull on me on the straights.
Yeah, I mean, but they just can't overtake each other, which is unfortunate. I mean, the only guy who could probably overtake is Gasly, but Gasly hasn't actually been going for moves. As you can see, Hamilton actually really close to Vettel. Of course, Vettel not having the DRS from Leclerc. So Hamilton's going to go for a move at 130. I think he's just going to be losing him more time. I don't think Hamilton and Vettel care about Leclerc winning. Right now, they're just trying to take points off each other, because, of course, they are each other's biggest rivals in this career mode right now. But if they're not careful, Leclerc could pounce on them come the end of the season. As you can see, Van Dorn now re-overtakes Ocon. So I think there's a bit of a skirmish going on there as they fall further behind Verstappen and co. As you can see, yeah, Gasly as well, DRS of Carlos Sainz. I don't think he'll be close enough to make a move, but Carlos Sainz is going defensive, and Gasly is going to try to make a move. Carlos Sainz goes wide, and Gasly not going for a move in the end, but that was close, and he had a chance. As you can see, Hamilton actually back ahead of Vettel after going for a move on 130R. These guys trading positions as Leclerc extends his gap to 2.5 seconds. So yeah, Leclerc's been really good in the last few races. After having quite a dry spell in the middle of the season, he's come back strong, and yeah, now Ricciardo and Alonso are out, sort of out of the running. I'm going into the final 2 rounds. It is legitimately between these 3 drivers. Who have the best chance of winning. Yeah, you can see Perez always being consistent, really, best of the rest, as he's actually once again outside the podium. He's been doing really well this season, much better than his teammate Ocon, who once again is outside the points. So I'm not saying it's like that in real life, but this game certainly seems to rate Perez well, better than Ocon. As you can see, Sainz again. He's actually pulling a bit on Gasly. As a result, if Gasly cannot get past Sainz, it's just further conforming this TRS train, as there's no movement at all. Even though Raikkonen is actually really close to Bottas, so even though Bottas is 8 tenths behind Grosjean, he still should be picking up the slipstream, but Raikkonen doesn't care. He's actually right behind Bottas, and actually might be able to make a move as Bottas falls further behind. But Pierre Gasly now is right behind Sainz, as Sainz has a mini lockup into the chicane. But I think the main battle right now is still between Vettel and Hamilton as they battle it out for P2, which could ultimately decide the championship. A 6-point swing, whoever gets the P2. And Vettel's actually going to make the move stick again around the outside. Meanwhile, Gasly's going to try to pull an identical move on Carlos Sainz, but Gasly's run right. And is he going to rejoin like Alonso? Is he going to be sensible about it? As he loses a lot of positions, he's going to rejoin actually behind this train as well. Is he actually... Oh no! It's Ericsson! He's collected, and these AI just do not know how to drive. As Ericsson's now collected by Pierre Gasly, who's now right ahead of his teammate. But I don't know what it is with this AI. He had a gap. He could have come out there. But no, he decides to rejoin it right in front of Ericsson. Actually, he's out the race as well. So Japan, proving quite a glitchy track in terms of that first turn. I mean, so many people are running wide and then rejoining horribly. I mean, the AI has no road sense in this game. And as you can see, actually, Perez is actually closed up to the back of this group, as that's how much fighting there's been between Hamilton and Vettel. Even so, yeah, Hamilton's still right behind Vettel. Actually, we was pulling out a bit. Vettel was, but now Hamilton will be right behind them as we go down this straight now into 130R. Will Hamilton overtake Vettel again into 130R like we saw him do 2 laps ago? Of course, these guys have been swapping positions every lap. By the looks of things, Hamilton actually should have the edge if they keep swapping positions every lap. So it depends if Vettel's going to be smart about it, as he's actually going to lose a lot of time. And Perez might actually try to get position off him, but Vettel goes defensive. Tags Hamilton. Hamilton drowns. Oh my goodness. Vettel has taken out Hamilton as Vettel goes defensive on Perez. Tries to make sure Perez can't go around his outside, and he actually tags Hamilton. And he actually hasn't received the penalty as Hamilton goes rails down the order. Hamilton right at the back. And just like that, the championship has completely turned. Hamilton was in the driving seat, and it looked like Hamilton and Vettel got right down to the wire in the championship. But now Vettel has spun out Hamilton. Arguably now he has a better chance. And of course he might argue that self-defense. But that looks really edgy, really iffy if anything. But of course the game not giving you a penalty. I'm surprised, to be honest, because that was pretty malicious. As now Perez finds himself in a podium and is staring down the back of the 4-time world champion. Has literally going to sector 2. Perez could be in P2, but Leclerc right now 6 seconds ahead. Unless he blows up, he looks like he's basically cemented himself in the title challenge. And at this rate, it could be him versus Vettel, because Hamilton is completely out of this race. Of course, he is in the lead overall, but this is not going to help him in the slightest, as the championship has completely been shapen up by this race. 3 title protagonists now find themselves 16th, 18th and 19th in this race. So really scary stuff. As you can see, Perez still right behind Vettel, and Carlos Sainz is actually trying to join in the party, as these guys are losing time and time, as Vettel's now going to go defensive on Perez. He was able to hold him up last time. Can he hold him up this time? Is he actually going to go? Perez is going to go around the outside of Vettel. Vettel actually nearly tagging Perez again. He's actually going to try to come straight back on Perez. So Vettel really feisty today. He really wants to get this championship by the looks of things. Of course, we've only got 2 races to go, as this is a mini season. As once again Perez is going to come under attack from Vettel, and Vettel is actually going to go to the inside, as actually not many people have gone to the inside, but you can see Vettel actually making the move, but then going wide straight away, and as a result he's actually going to lose 2 positions. At least he doesn't actually collect anyone when rejoining, but he's now down to 4th place, and it's not been good the last few laps of Vettel, as now Carlos Sainz finds himself into the podium spot, and Vettel's just been slipping down the order when he could have been in the lead of this race. And the championship protagonists have all really suffered, apart from Leclerc. He's been able to benefit the most from this race. And wow, it's been a really upside down race, as once again the order still remains. You see Carlos Sainz is completely pulled away from this train, as actually this train might actually link up to the back of the podium, because Vettel has been so slow. So yeah, all the way stretches down all the way to P8 as we go into the final lap. I think Vettel's too far back to challenge Sainz, and Sainz might be too far back to challenge Perez. As Sheddy Onyx gets Hulkenberg, it might not be out of the question. Sheddy Onyx could get points right now. Currently in Hamilton by Van Dorn. Van Dorn in the points. Of course, that's quite rare. So I don't think it would be a shame if Van Dorn was to lose it. But I think the only real action will be from Sheddy Onyx's point of view, because I don't think Raikkonen is close enough to make a move on Bottas. Even so, he's gaining. I don't think he is close enough though, but we might try to go to a move into the final chicane, but it's going to be risky as Bottas is actually going to park it sensibly, and as a result the restrictions will stay as they are. As you can see, Sheddy Onyx now right behind Magnussen, and it should be interesting to see what happens, but I don't think he's close enough, as Magnussen will get that P11 and Van Dorn will get points as we cross the line, and that will be the final result as Sheddy Onyx crosses the line. Nearly actually ahead of Magnussen in the end after they came together a bit early in the race, but what could have been there for Sheddy Onyx? Meanwhile, I think most of the title contenders out of this race or out of the top 5. So once again, you get Perez and Carlos Sainz, so the two Spanish speakers, next to Leclerc, who once again takes the win. So Leclerc has now catapulted himself back into this title fight, and I think he might actually overtake Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken. Will be very close to him, but Vettel now should have quite a commanding lead in the title, even after only getting 4th place. I think actually no, I think there was only an 8-point gap between him and Hamilton, so it still might be close even after him taking out Hamilton. As we look at the race results, Leclerc in the end winning by 8 seconds over Sergio Perez. Carlos Sainz making the most of his good qualifying to get P3. Vettel a very disappointing race, taking out Hamilton and still only getting 4th place. Could have been the win there for Vettel. He had every opportunity to do so. As you can see, Grosjean now P5. A really good result for the Frenchman. The only French, actually Ocon did finish in the points in the end. As you can see, Bottas and Kimi Raikkonen also 6th and 7th behind him. Max Verstappen, quite a disappointing race. Sort of benefited from the pit lane, but didn't actually make any moves on track. He will get 8th. Ocon 9th. Van Dorn 10th. And Magnussen and Sheddy Onyx, after coming together, will finish 11th and 12th. Hulkenberg 13th, Hartley 14th, ahead of Gasly in the end, who of course had that incident where he went wide. Hamilton was spun round by Vettel, but still only finished 2 seconds behind Gasly. But still, there wasn't much he could do there. As we look onto the standings, Vettel 7 points ahead of Hamilton, who's in turn only 2 points ahead of Leclerc. So as I was saying, although the top 4 are still separated by 25 points, Alonso needs literally 2 wins on the trot if he wants to win this win this championship. Meanwhile, it is still a 3-horse race. These guys separated by less than 10 points, so it could be anyone's game in this title still. Even after Vettel's antics, he just wasn't able to capitalise on it with the win. I don't think it was a good race for Vettel, and I doubt he tried to take Hamilton out maliciously, but it didn't help any of them, to be honest, because I think Vettel had wing damage after that. You can see as well Perez overtaking Ricciardo after Ricciardo retired. So of course Alonso and Ricciardo had a really good chance to be right in the fight, but unfortunately they are out of it now as Perez moves up to P6. Verstappen still in a disappointing P9, actually coming on to attack from Sainz now, as I think Renault has turned to stage a late challenge on Red Bull. As you see, Raikkonen still 11th. Grosjean actually overtakes Gasly to be best of the rest. And of course Hartley still with that 17 points after getting that elusive podium in Canada, after a lot of luck, I've got to admit. Magnussen will remain 15th, Ocon 16th, and unfortunately right at the back is still Marcus Ericsson. I mean, this guy is just pretty rubbish, I've got to admit. He doesn't actually get points today. In the end, actually finishing right at the back. I don't know, actually DNFing in the end. After getting collected when Gasly rejoined, so not really a good race for him as well. But that's going to be it for round 10. See you in round 11 for Mexico. But actually no, I will quickly glaze over the constructors. You see Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull still on top, but Red Bull actually could be coming under fire from Renault, Alfa Romeo and McLaren, as they're all within 26 points by the looks of things. Force India a bit further behind, and of course you got Red Bull, Toro Rosso, Honda and Haas F1 way behind, but only 1 point between them. So Haas needs to really up their game. And Williams, of course, right at the back because I'm not driving at all. But that's going to be it. See you next time in Mexico, which is actually one of Dylan's favourite tracks. So see you there.